Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us today for the RealNex Mastermind with Nick Miner. I'm Jeff Finn, CEO at RealNex, and delighted to have you all back here again, pre-holiday. Nick is a veteran of RealNex and its predecessor, REA, made the migration from the REA desktop to the cloud a couple of years ago, and has become a master at using the dashboard and projects to help run his business, build his business grow. Nick not only is transactional, but is also heavily involved in underwriting and analyzing deals, and has been involved in many significant ones over the years. So Nick is an advisory board member for RealNex, and we've enjoyed his input and support over the years, a CCIM and active investment broker. So Nick, I'll let you take it away and give us your day in the life of how you build your business. And
sure,
we'll open up the questions for anyone that has them along the way. We'll be glad to field them towards the end of the program. So first, we'll just give a little bit of your day in the life, Nick.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jeff, for having me. It's always a pleasure to help the cause, especially when it relates to probably one of the few CRMs that actually work for us as commercial real estate practitioners, and just the improvements that you and Tim and everybody's been making over the years to get it to where it is today, and looking forward to future enhancements. To kind of give the brief background, started 24 years ago in the business using ACT, and then from ACT it was Aries for ACT, and then it was CoStar Aries, then it was a FileMaker database, then it was RealHound, and then it was an Access database, then it's Excel spreadsheets, and then finally I heard of this little program called REA. Tim Cray reached out to him and started talking to him quite extensively. And at the time when I was one of the partners running a brokerage company here in town, we flew Tim out and set up REA 9 when it just moved to the SQL database. And that was probably about 2006 or 7. And so the data has been kind of gone through several iterations to get into there, and Tim took his time when he came out and just basically kind of said, okay, I built the system this way, and as long as you take the time to use it this way, this is how it's going to benefit you. And obviously we're able to modify it to kind of fit our needs. And so avid user of the desktop, now you're talking about 2005, 6, when Log Me In was kind of the only way to really telecommute into your computer, because we had to have it on a server, and so we had a server dedicated to REA, which all the hardware and infrastructure cost. And so I obviously a power user on the desktop, was always pinging Tim and Matt to do future enhancements and everything else. And I always give Tim a hard time, because I remember him sitting in my office saying, the cloud will never surpass the desktop version. And here we are, where Tim is more excited about the cloud than he ever was with the desktop. So I'm just glad that he saw the light and got us to where we are today. So that's kind of the backstory of kind of getting to a CRM and everything else. And what I would also say is on the migration from the desktop to the cloud, I was one of your hybrid customers there for a while, where it was like syncing back and forth between desktop and cloud, and that worked okay. But again, the problem I always faced was when you're on the road or out of the office, and so trying to fully manage your office while you're on the road at a conference or whatnot, that was still the biggest challenge. And now that REA is I'm on the 100% cloud-based version of it, it's definitely a lot easier to manage. And it just keeps getting better, which is the best part about it. So I haven't, obviously with COVID last year, even though our office was open the whole time, I will say that that was the perfect time to turn off the desktop version and just go 100% cloud. It was a lot of reservations in doing so, but Tim's assurances and your assurances that we'll make it work, got me over the hurdle. And what better time to do it than when everybody was used to working from home. So there you are. So that was kind of the genesis of just saying, all right, I'm going to pull the Band-Aid off and I'm just going to jump 100% in. And by that time, the cloud had pretty much all the features of the desktop, and then it was starting to surpass the desktop in features as far as the power of like the merging of duplicates and the ability to have just multiple tabs open, kind of like how you had the multiple screens open on the desktop, to where all of a sudden now, I was able to have, because I'm an avid believer of multiple monitors. Now I've got, projects on one screen, I've got my contacts on another screen, working through property records and email on another screen. So, I'm one of those crazy people that have multiple screens. And so now having the tabbed version that's 100% cloud allows the work process to be that much more efficient, which, I love. So that's kind of where, the migration from desktop to cloud has gone. And, I don't know, Jeff, what specifically from here you want me to kind of just show. So I guess one example would be.
I think a couple of things that you talked about, or you wanted to, it sounds like you wanted to talk about, was how you use the dashboard to drive your day and how you do lead management in projects. And I think those would be the sort of the key takeaways to focus on. But obviously, there's many other aspects that you could hit upon along the way.
Okay, fair enough. So obviously everybody knows the dashboard pretty well. I use this leads tab very significantly. What I use this for is tied in with my project. So let me just grab an active project that I'm working on right now. Let's see, I'll just jump over to Ed here really quick. And the way I use it is I basically just copy this over into my lead search. So he's a buyer rep. And so what I've done is I said, okay, well, how am I going to track my buyers? How am I going to track my properties for sale? And so what I'm able to do is some of the key things in projects that you'll kind of quick notice is BR stands for buyer rep, S stands for sell. Then I have other ones that will say like off market or whatnot, just so that way I can keep track of who these people are, where they are in the process. And so what I just like to be able to do is just be able to just jump around and say, okay, is there anything pressing that I need to do for Ed today? Where am I standing for any of the outstanding projects that I have, that we've submitted offers on? Who do I need to talk to? So I jump over to the contact. So it allows me to immediately just start jumping around and start doing everything, and then look at the last communication. Okay, here's where we are. We received an offer. So then if it's something that is accepted, then I can then start the whole pipeline. So I know this goes really fast. Now, hopefully people that are watching this, hopefully slow it down, because I've got a lot of different things going all at the same time. To me, it's a logical, linear thought process that over the years, Tim helped me develop. So that way, as I get an assignment, as I'm working with somebody, I'm immediately kind of going down a siloed approach to try to get to success, right? To the ultimate closing or whatnot. Let me grab one of my listings here really fast, just so that way I can.
That would be great to hear what that sequence is and how you go about that. So, and how it ties in with the automation.
Yeah. So I have to give credit to Jeff Gordon on this part. He helped me on this. So a lot of this on the projects tab, I name it based on what it is, when I started and everything else. But then I set up these initial inquiry, suspect, prospect, interested, touring, offer pending, received, countered, all the way to in escrow, completed, not interested, or it just doesn't happen, right? Did not close. And so what I'm able to do, I know you can see it right here on the lead tab, but I don't have enough screen right here. So that's why I always use the dashboard over here, because then now I can do quick sorts of, okay, this property is in escrow. This is what we're in escrow at. Here's all my notes, results, active, what the source was. Where it came from. Was it a call? Was it a sign call? Co-op broker, LoopNet, Crexy, wherever the lead source came from, because this is all stuff that I track that goes back to my marketing reports that I send to my owners. And so this is just kind of a quick call sheet. Like, okay, so from right here, I can sort and say, okay, here are the people that just asked for just initial information. What was my last follow-up with them? Do I need to follow up with them? And then I can start creating my call sheets right here from this dashboard based on every project. And so when somebody inquires about it, I'm tracking them, I'm putting them in, I'm able to like see last time I talked to them, if there's any notes whatsoever. And then like I've always done, I think I showed this on a previous one, I'll export this to Excel. I'll do a couple little charts from Excel, and then that's what I'll use as part of my marketing report that I send to an owner. So, but then people are like, oh, well, how did you get to this point, right? So I get a call from Leroy. Leroy, I don't know who he is. He came from some source. I go to my projects tab. He called me about one of my listings. So then what I do is right here on the lead card is where it starts. I put in when he initially contacted me. My results are either he's still actively looking, he's not interested in this site, so I drop him to lost. If he closes, then that's where the 1 comes in. Inactive just means not now. So talk to him, he called me. When I talk to him, I immediately, as I'm talking with him, or if I get an email from him, I kind of grade him of where he's at, from just initially inquiring about it to, okay, this is somebody I should probably follow up with. Somebody that's more than a follow-up is the prospect in my mind. And then if the prospect is either going to move forward down hopefully a pipeline of being interested, touring, maybe submitting an offer, or if they only get to suspect and they say, hey, I'm not interested, I immediately just drop them to inactive right here, hit save, and then it drops off the report that I send to my owner. And then I might put like a quick little note, last time I talked to him, what he said, out of the market or whatever. And so this lead card is really critical for me and my workflow. And so I created the source right here because I was typing in the same thing all the time. So I wanted to track where these people were coming from, which again goes back to where the dashboard is kind of coming from, right? So once you kind of set up what you're concerned about and where you're spending your marketing dollars, and you want to know where it's coming from, that to me tells me where I can spend more money in my marketing to see if it makes more sense. And so the lead card is absolutely critical, because that's the workflow that translates into my dashboard, which translates into my owner reports and everything associated with an active project. I know that was a lot. I did put in here the different columns that I'm using, so that way it would match. Again, all this stuff is stuff that I would just do a simple.
Can you show that one more time? That was one of the inquiries or questions, Nick, how you popped up columns and customize your columns.
Yeah, okay, so most of these columns were ones that are already on the lead card. So all this right here is from the lead card. So I was trying to match the stuff that I was using from the lead card over on the dashboard.
Just want to show where that pop-up came from, if you don't mind. The columns.
So columns is right here on the dashboard.
Yep, right there. Yep.
Yeah.
And then there was a question about getting the leads in from outside sources like a Crexy or LoopNet.
So
it's not an automated process. Let's hear how you get them.
Well, it can be, right? So if I had Leroy's email already in my system, right, and then you go to your history tab, you can type in this is where it kind of gets fun. You can type in the filter right here. You can put in his email address just to see if he's already a contact in your database. Okay, he wasn't there, but if he was, had he been in here, it would have like popped up that he was in the database, and I could have like seen what email history, and then I could have linked or changed right then and there what project he was associated with. I wish it was automated, but unfortunately it's just not quite that automated.
So that's important for everyone to just remember that Outlook or Gmail through Outlook sync to get those emails to come into history, and then from history you can link it to the person or the project.
Right. So like right here, I just typed in CCIM on the history, and then so this is all going to be associated with the project that I was showing you, the land deal I've got in contract right now, and just kind of shows real fast if I'm like really curious as to what's the status, have I needed to check in with anybody. It pulls up anything associated with CCIM, which is a very powerful filter, which I appreciate Tim put this in here, and then you can kind of see who it's linked to. What I would like to see maybe on maybe a next iteration, instead of having to do like show or hide filters, is maybe just one more search box right next to it, so that maybe you could have like 2 key searches. But I know that, you know, the filter does the same thing. I just got to remind myself to do it. Like what I'm saying.
Yeah,
is
what you
right
could do
here,
with that filters, Nick, as you know, is you could have a drop down below with your favorites and make one of them your 2-field filter or something like that. It might be a way to get where you want to go.
Yeah, like I said, I've created quite a few different filters and stuff. It's just, you know, timing and how much time can you spend when you're busy kind of managing escrows, right? So again, here's kind of that project. So then one of the other things that I have set up is a couple different filters that you're talking about right here that just says, okay, because I'm in my system, I'm using it consistently the same way with buyer rep or for sale assignment or off market. And I'm able to just jump really fast to, okay, here's my current buyers that I'm working with. I just want to see where they're at, see if there's anything that I'm missing. If I've got any assignments already in contract, I can immediately just kind of see where we're at, see what the different potential properties are for my buddy Chris that we were looking at, and then kind of track what the amounts were. If it's a project that ends up selling, I immediately just go into that property and I just say it's not available. I mark it lost and I just write down sold. And then I move it on. And then it drops it right here from the list, because I'm only showing the active projects versus the ones that aren't active. Then I'm, you know, after I'm done kind of combing through my current buyers, I go to my current for sale inventory, say, okay, well, where am I at with my current for sale inventory? Is it in escrow? You know, if it's an escrow, then it gets moved into my active escrow pipeline for projects. And so all this stuff is basically what I've been doing, and it's all tied to these key fields on the project that I'm working with. Just saying, hey, this is kind of where we're at, this is what we're buying, you know. And then I have, like, I've even set up different scheduled timelines that are associated with this. So if this was an escrow, I created a timeline template. So just to kind of show everybody what that template looks like, I would just hit schedule. I would associate who it's with, click next, and then right here, here's my handful of timelines that show up as to-dos that sync back to my calendar, so I know when things are coming up. I go in, I modify it. Again, I'm keeping it very simple, just because the minute I start getting when I stop using it. And I know for myself, the more simpler I keep it, the more I'm apt to use it, and the ability not to let things slip through a crack. So that's already inactive. So, and then for some of the projects or properties I'm tracking that are off market, these are just owners that I know would take an offer if I was to talk to them. You know, I just, again, just kind of go through and I just kind of track where it is, who I'm talking to, and, you know, just kind of go from there, right? Then the other thing.
Where did you flag those prospective off-market deals? How did you?
Okay, so what I would do. Yep. So right here, I have a filter already created. So I have a property. I create a property record. I assign a project to it just because it's off market. If it's something I'm going to work on, I'm going to create a project for it. Usually for the client, I'll put in the owner's name, type for sale, status is off market. So this is where the filter picks up. And then if I know that it ever gets listed, then I just drop it. If it goes in the contract and we close, then I change it to an escrow, which is one of my 14 statuses that I track for reports that go back to that dashboard. So if this was actually an escrow, it would then show up in my in escrow filter that I've already created. So I've taken the time to basically utilize like really 10, maybe 12 key fields throughout the whole system that allows me to track everything. And that's where the relational database is really powerful that Tim has built, where everything used to be siloed individual silos, to where now with the relations you can have multiple relations to these different people, and the filter will pick up whatever you're looking for.
And you're actually tracking the deals of other brokers in the market. So these are, if it's off market, you're still tracking its progress of how it's going through and what's happening.
No. So
Lost your audio, Nick. Can you hear me?
it says audio connection restored. Hopefully, sorry about that. So what we call that whenever that happens is a coffee break, right? Jeff, are you back?
I am back. I apologize for that, guys.
No worries. I was just telling everybody this is what we call a coffee break.
Yeah, there you go. But keep going and chime in with questions. So I'm not sure where you left off, but sorry for the interruption.
Yeah, no, I was just I don't see any questions in the chat box. Hopefully everybody can still see my screen. Do you still see that screen, Jeff?
I can see it and I can hear you. Yes. Yep.
Perfect. So basically what I was just saying before I think everything fell apart was I really focus on the 10 key fields that matter the most, that kind of carry through the whole database. because of the relationships and the filters and how they all pick up. And so, like I said, what I do a lot of times is for my current inventory, what I'll probably do is I'll like take this, tab, take it off, and then go throw it on other screens. So that way I know I'm working on that assignments, and I can like bounce back and forth to the leads or whatnot. And it's really, the way it's kind of been put together on the web. It just allows you to kind of work on each individual project at any given time, and then just kind of do quick sorts. And then, like I said, I personally, what I do is I track everything, and this is just kind of the quick look at it, but then I immediately take it and I look over here on the leads tab, because this is where I can actually, the fastest way for me to look is like, okay, I want to see who is the most interested people in this property that I have. And then I just kind of go through the list, and right here's my call sheet. And so then I can immediately say link to all the contacts and the current query. It opens up another tab. And right here is kind of my quick call sheet for this property. So then I'll take that and I'll just throw that on another screen. And then when I get through the call sheet, then I just close it out and I move on to the next project. And so I might have multiple projects. Right now I've got 7 or 8 listings that aren't in escrow. So a lot of times I'll just grab those listings really fast. I'll go to the dashboard. I'll do this right here where I create the leads, and then I just say, hey, I want to see the output or the link to. And then now I know, hey, here's kind of my call sheet, my updates for today. Close that one out. I go to the next one, do the same thing, and I just kind of keep going through the whole process. And that's how I really use that dashboard in this leads tab right here. And then, right here's my next set of calls. So I open it up in another tab. And then, that way I can kind of be as efficient as I can with my day as I'm kind of going through, on top of all the stuff that I'm tracking for different escrows. So I really use this leads tab right here. I really use projects very heavily. Properties, every property I have that's ever been listed for sale, generally speaking, I have a sales package on an attachment to it. So that's kind of where all this stuff kind of comes in. So, if I was to jump to a property I just sold, you'll see that on the attachments, I track, due diligence materials, floor plans, lease documents, and then when I sell it, I create a group of just, properties that I've sold. So that way, if I want to do just kind of a quick filter, just, hey, I want to see the properties that I've sold this year or whatnot, I have like different groups already set up. So that way I can, and then I have tracking groups and everything else, just so that way it's just quick, right? And so that's kind of how I use some of the groups on the property side. And then recently what I've done is I've got an intern helping me out on the sales comps sides of things. And so one of the things I wanted to do was be able to track what comps she was putting in for me. And so we created a simple group that she was working from. This is one of our sources for comps. And so now I can go in really fast and just verify that she's putting in all the information for me. And based on what I know for the comps. And what I love about is if there's a contact that's not in here, she's attaching the contact, attaching the seller, and she's capturing kind of the basic information on the sell date for me. So that way now it just even helps even more with making sure my database, the buyers and sellers, are up to date. And that's something that I just implemented with an intern where, because of the cloud, I'm able to do that. They work remote. I send them an email with the recent sales comps, and they send me a note back saying, hey, finish today's comps for you. They're in the database. I do a quick search, look at the VISTA, and then I can just sort it by sell date really fast. Just kind of go right here. For the most recent comps that she put in for me, she put in 2 comps for me yesterday for 2 properties. And if I want to just verify, and then if there's people that on this list that I need to talk to, I give them a quick call. So again, here's even more call sheets and call opportunities to people that are being active buyers and sellers. And if it's just a handful of them that I want, like, these 3 I know I haven't talked to, I immediately just go to the linked because they're the 4 selected. Where's that? Go to linked show, and immediately just go right here. Oh, sorry about the flag there. So then if I need to go update Scott, then I can go to Scott's record really fast. I know he just bought a retail property, so I make sure on my investor tab that I mark him as a retail buyer. He bought an auto property. So that way, when I start doing some reverse searches on, if I get an auto listing, I can start doing my reverse searches on my filters on the client, on the contacts. So basically, what I can tell you, Jeff, is, and anybody that's kind of gone from desktop, if you're a power user on the desktop, all your filters you can make sure get transferred over to the web. And then what you're going to love about it is once you're on the web, you can actually tweak those filters even faster and see what you might be missing. You know, before I just had generic filters for contacts that would just, let me just turn this off, which, you know, just trying to get to my retail owners or my, you know, kind of, just show you filters. Manage filters. So I've created a whole bunch of just different filters with things that are just all, you know, important to me. So when I want to do a retail investor mass email, it was very generic. It was anybody that was marked as an investor that bought retail that I had their email address. Now, because of the help with my intern and, you know, just the ability to see the different filters and using the different functions here within the tables that I've created here, a lot of this was just from straight out of the box, but then I modified a few of these different ones that were important to me. Like I actually single tenant strip center. So what I've done is now I take the time, if I know somebody bought a strip center, I'm making sure I mark them as a strip center. So that way, when I start doing more of my filters that I've already created, I'm getting more and more kind of the sniper approach versus the shotgun approach. And what's great about
granular. Can you show
yeah.
how you got the filters onto the drop-down menu? You have a lot of filters, but only a couple of them were showing up on what we call the favorites, just to make sure everyone knows how to do that.
Yes. So you know, because I have too many filters set up. So on my favorites, I just said, hey, these are the ones that I'm really checking the most. And this list changes all the time. And so if you go to filters, manage, then because you can either do the little star to make it a favorite or not a favorite, and then the check mark just applies the filter to the screen. And so, you know, the ones that right now were the most critical, I had a new listing that was $6 million. So I was like, okay, I want to make sure I find all my retails that I know, retail investors that I know that are looking for over $5 million. And then it automatically goes through the database because I've been doing it right and adding to, you know, kind of the min and max. And I highlighted the fields that are really important to me. So that way I can like track where these people are. You know, and that's just kind of the sniper approach that you can do. Again, there's only a handful of key fields that I really track for what I do. Investor type, usually min-max price, different types of properties are important, especially in the investor tab, and then just trying to get their phone, email, and name, and then you just kind of go from there. And if they own anything, obviously it'll show up if they own anything on their links tab. So that's a lot thrown at somebody right there.
That's a lot. Yeah, that was the fire hose version. So you've got quite a process, and it's working well. It sounds like a few takeaways. You build it over time. You keep building it, keep refining. Every day you're enhancing the data with new attributes and profiles. You can't do it all at once and expect it to work. The leverage of the intern sounds like that's been pretty significant as well.
Right. Being able to have somebody that can, be able to have somebody that can easily say, hey, here's the 4 sales that happened yesterday. Just make sure that they're in there. Make sure I have their property record. Make sure we attach it as a sell comp. And then make sure those contacts are attached to the record. And then creating a group so that way I know where it came from. So like the record owner intern is another filter I could always do where I don't know if you guys can see it down the bottom, but I created a contact called intern. So that way that's kind of my general user account that somebody can help me with my database maintenance. Just so that way I can do a filter and see what they've done and when they did it.
And then you focus on some key fields. You prioritize how you're collecting data, so you know what you're. And I think you color coded those in many cases.
So
just remind everybody how to do that. How do they?
Yeah. So real fast, you just right click on any of these fields, hit field definition, and then you can just say color on or color off, and then you can pick the color. And so that's where I started saying, okay, when I was tracking active inventory, I always made sure for sale, for lease. But the year built, year renovated, last sales price, when it happened, square feet, vacant. Used to track that when we had a team that was doing a lot of leasing. And then zoning is important to me. And then I created my own user fields because most of the stuff I do is retail related, north, south, east, west, and corner. And I even went one step further so that way the data was going to be consistent. I actually went through and put in all the major arterials in the Phoenix metro area, north, south, and east, west. So, and the reason why I did that, here I'll show you, is I created a filter by cross streets. And so then it automatically pulls up. Let me show the filter. East, west, north, south. And so before Tim had it to where you could like do the global search when it was just kind of a keyword, I would pick the streets really fast and say I want everything that's on McClintock and Apache. And then immediately just hit search, and then it would bring up those four corners of what's there. So that was one of the user fields that I made sure that I'm tracking too.
And I think the final piece that you gave us was the consistent workflow, where you have a process and you don't just randomly go in and out, but you're really working through projects and lead management to drive your dashboard and your priorities.
Right. The majority of the time I spend is usually on the dashboard, looking at where I'm at with my different projects, active assignments, making sure I'm creating my call list from those for the day. And then I'm making my calls through here. And then, because, now I've got a phone dialer that if I click this, it'll automatically dial. So it doesn't do the dialog box. So I actually have to do the start call timer just because of the system that we have here. And then I just go down to the next one. I know there's people that are more efficient than me where they would actually export this list into like a phone burner or somebody like that, and then just boom, 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 make out their 50 calls. And that's hopefully at some point, I know a couple people would love to see that sort of integration back into the system to where, I export this list into a phone dialer system to where I'm literally just click, 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 and then it's tracking the history. Right now, it's still, you got to kind of do one at a time, but I also know I'm only making one phone call at a time. So, it's 2 clicks versus 1 click for some people.
And you talked about what it sounds like you've got mission control on the other side. How many monitors do you have and use, what are the sizes of them that you get all the windows open in?
I really want to add another one. I've only got 3 right now, but I'm probably going to have maybe 1 or 2 more added. It's just the way I workflow. You have one with your email and your calendar. I've got multiple REAs. Then I've got other websites that I'm doing research from all the time. And, just being able to see the whole picture while you're making phone calls. If somebody brings something up, you need to look something up really fast. If it's not in your database or if it's on, a county website or something like that. I've got one screen that's pretty much dedicated to aerial view, either through Google Maps or our county assessor maps, and have that up religiously pretty much every day, just because, you're talking to different people and something will come up, and, you want to, if they're not in my database, I need to be able to see them. And what's funny is once I usually look up a property, if it's not in my database, it gets added pretty quickly.
Do you use the web links in your property database to access any of that third-party information?
So I need to go back and update those, because we did have, I had this all set up for like Maricopa County Assessor. Like for this property, right, it would know to automatically pull parcel number. If I had the parcel number written in here, it would. This one doesn't have it. Does this one have it? I know. All right, so of course I'm grabbing all the ones that don't have a parcel number.
Right.
There's one with parcel number. So right here, normally you would be able to just say, okay, Maricopa County GIS maps, but it's a broken link that Maricopa County changed their web link probably a year ago, and I just haven't updated it.
Got it. All right. Well, we still have some time for questions if anyone has any. We've covered a lot of ground, Nick, and great information, great process you have that seems to be working well for you. We answered a few of the questions along the way, but if there's any final ones, we'll take them. And if there's any final remarks or thoughts you'd like to share to everyone with the group, that'd be terrific. As the questions, any other questions come in.
Yeah, just a quick final comment is, I know there's always reservations for change, especially when you go from something that's at your desk where you have kind of control. I joke, I still have kind of a mini server computer here at the office, but I don't need it anymore. It's got the mirrored drives with the backup and then cloud backup, right? So because at one point I lost my data, and that was very frustrating, and I said that would never happen again. And the fact that now it's all hosted on the RealNex servers, as long as I have an internet connection, I don't have to worry about the data, which was always kind of the big question mark for me. Is you accumulate all this information over years, and then you start running into hardware issues, because hardware wears out, at least from the perspective of the service you guys provide. I don't have to worry about the hardware issue. I had to replace a laptop recently. The laptop just finally died. Got a new laptop, opened up Chrome, and away I went. So that made it really nice. So that way I didn't have to worry about transferring the data, reinstalling the program, and all that other stuff. The fact that it all lives within kind of a web browser just offers more freedom and flexibility from my standpoint, and not being able to be tied down to just in the office to do work and be as efficient as I can be.
Excellent. If you could, there was another question about the columns again, and is there the source field, was that one of your choices, or is that one of the ones that you needed to?
So are you talking about on the dashboard?
I think it was, I believe so. Yeah. Was that one of the options?
So right here, yeah. So I had to check source and notes. So these are the ones that are all labeled at the top. So the type is related to the type of project, for sale, for lease, buyer rep, opportunity. I don't really use all these other ones. I just use for sale and buyer rep are really the only two that I use. And that.
And this, just to share with everyone, you can adjust those out with your types and your tables and manage the project types and add new ones or delete ones that you don't want. So if you wanted to get rid of anything that you don't use.
Yeah, that's in I think the tools, and then in the settings, system tables.
Yep. Project.
Project types. Yeah.
Project types. Yep.
Yeah. So right here is how I did my setup for the for sale. So here you go again. I put numbers in.
You customized all of your stages there.
Right. And then I put them in order, even though that one should be right there. And the reason why is because, like I said originally, is I'll export that dashboard to Excel, and then I do some filtering on Excel real fast. I know Tim's tried creating a report. I just need to work with them just to kind of fine tune it a little bit. But it's just like anything. There's always just so much time in a day. So right here, I would export it to Excel. So hopefully it'll pop up the Excel screen. Download the file. Let's open this up. Okay, so this is what it sends me when I hit the export. And so I don't need the key anymore. That just automatically comes when you do an export out of the database. I delete that. I already know it's all for sale, so I end up deleting that out. But a lot of times I will view, freeze that top row so that way you can kind of see what's going on. And then I'll just go right here, data, add the filter. And then I just want to see anybody that has, so let's just unselect them all. I just want to see all the offers. And then I can immediately just say, okay, projects, where the sources came from. And what this does is this starts to create an owner report that I'll send to my owners. And that just came straight from, again, being right here on the dashboard. So all these fields right here carry over to the Excel file, and I just use the ones that I need.
Excellent. So I think that takes care of questions. As your final remarks, key takeaways, I mean, there's a lot of information, Nick. We really appreciate all that you've been able to share in a tight window. Hopefully everyone's benefited from this, and we look forward to having you back next month with a next in the series, and we'll be sending out information about the mastermind as it continues into 2022. In the meantime, we wish you all a very happy holiday and a wonderful new year, and look forward to continuing to grow with you together. Appreciate your time. Thanks again, Nick. Have a great day.
You bet. Merry Christmas.